Oh, where's the beat? Where's the beat? Oh, I don't know if I was on beat, but there was a beat and I was dancing, and so we'll call it a win. Ooh, how are you
One of my
doing?
friends told me this week that Mercury's in
Okay.
retrograde, so tech is
Mm,
funky. Tech is
okay.
funky. So it
I
may
need to
not have been
rethink
you
these.
not hearing the beat. It may have been.
Mm,
"Whoop, whoop, whoop."
right. And that's how it is sometimes, right, y'all? Like it's not you, it's just the things around you. Just go with the flow. And I've gotten better
Right,
at that over the years. So happy
right.
to be here with you. How are you doing?
Whoo, yeah.
Yeah.
Grateful.
Right.
Really, really grateful.
Yeah.
There's so much. You and
Yeah.
I often talk about we used to say holding, but we're not saying holding.
No, we're not.
Acknowledging,
Yes.
acknowledging the grief and gratitude of this season. And I look forward to having a fun conversation today
Yeah, me
for our
too.
season wrap up. And
Hey.
yeah. Should we
Yeah.
do our official welcome and intro so we can just dive in and not have to
Yes.
worry about that part?
Let's do it. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gotro, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, embodied coach, Amazon best-selling author and publisher, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade your self and community care.
Yes, together we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of Women Connected in Wisdom Community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
Yes. Yes, yes. And a lot of times, we talk about doing all of it. We talk about the little details, being intentional about our action, all the different dimensions of wellness. That's a lot to cover. You know, even between how long our name is, we were like, we don't want to stress people out. And around the holidays, it's easy to do, right?
It is, I think about it, and I was thinking the other day,
Yeah.
because this is the time of year that I'm auditing systems, I'm
Hmm.
looking at calendars,
Hmm.
I've already got a whole bunch of stuff on the calendar for 2025, and
Yes,
but I'm
congratulations.
re yeah, thank you, but I'm also redoing my calendar system, right? Because I bought
Yes.
that gorgeous
Wall
Instagram
calendar.
calendar last
Yes.
year, and so
Yep.
I'm resetting it from last year
Good
to this
job.
year. And it's easy, or at least I find it easy to get overwhelmed sometimes. And
Mm,
then I have to stop. I stopped this week because I kind of took on somebody else's anxiety. And I was like,
mm.
wait, this is not mine. Like,
Yeah.
I love having a full life.
Yeah.
I like the life we've built. I like that I can travel and do the
Mhm.
podcast and meet people from
Yes.
all over. And
Yes.
my calendar, the transition of my calendar stresses me out, but my
Okay.
calendar doesn't actually stress me out. Does that make sense?
I hear you. And it does. And I have a
Mhm.
question. When you say my transition of the calendar, do you mean this period where it's the year or when the month happens? What do you mean when you say transition?
It's kind of, well, because I'm literally taking last year's
Wiping everything
calendar off
down.
the
Right.
wall,
Mhm.
resetting it,
Mhm.
putting up this year. Like, it's a lot of little tech,
Yes. It is.
right?
It is.
And already looking at, oh yeah, I said yes to that. Oh, I
Yeah.
said yes to that.
Mhm.
Oh. And even as I'm saying it, because
Mhm.
sometimes I start to beat myself up and think,
Mhm.
oh, this should have already been done, right?
Okay.
And then I
Yes.
have to pause and
Mhm.
say, there's many a year that I didn't get my calendar organized until February of the
Mhm.
year. So the fact that I'm looking at it before the end of the year,
Yes. Good
points
job.
for me.
Points.
And then there's another part of me that's like, I should already have 2026's up, because the
Sixes.
reality,
Oh.
well, I mean, you
Well, yeah,
look,
we're almost
we're
there. We are
talking
almost there.
today and we're scheduling people
Maybe in
for, like,
February. Maybe that's what you
right?
do in February.
And it's joyful, right?
Yeah,
Because
yes.
really, and it's all to me, instead of thinking, oh, I've got to do, like, I get to do this.
Get to.
I get to have this full, beautiful, amazing life.
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a little tricky. Yeah,
Yes.
sometimes it's a little, as today we were looking at the timeline for book
Yeah.
3 of Women
Yeah, we were.
Connected in Wisdom, right?
Yes.
And making sure that's laid out. I was thinking, I shouldn't tell you this on air
Mm.
so you don't fall over, but I was
It's
like,
okay.
yeah, we should be planning book 4 also right
We
alongside it,
we
right?
talked about it. We
And
can.
right? So
We really can. We
I
could talk
just
about it.
I just think about, as women especially,
Mhm.
how much we juggle,
Mhm.
and especially around this time of the year.
Yeah.
Like, in America, a lot of folks just had Thanksgiving holiday.
Right.
Um, we're headed towards the high holy seasons for
Mhm.
most religions and
Yes.
most holidays,
Yes.
which, in my experience,
Mhm.
puts a lot of unseen, unpaid labor on women,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
expectations, whether they put it on themselves or their family puts it on them. It's
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I would love to do, because even as I was saying
Mm,
everything in the beginning, we were talking about overwhelm. I felt it, right? So can we
okay.
take a deep breath?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let it out with a sigh, and just like you're doing, Shannon, if you're listening to us, Shannon's rolling her shoulders a little bit, letting her
Yeah,
neck relax. If you're driving in the car, just let your shoulders come down.
yeah,
That's always my indicator of how well we're doing, is where are your shoulders? Are they up around your ears
yeah.
or are they down,
Mine
right?
has been my tongue. It's been, like, on the top of my
Mm.
roof, and it's like, why is your tongue always just relax all
Oh,
the
because are
way from
you
there.
are you kind of holding your tongue and like,
Probably. And,
okay,
like, that for me, that's my telltale sign, like, you talk about your
okay.
shoulders, is why
Hmm.
is this more tense than it needs to be?
And your
Just
jaw, all
relax
right?
all over. Mhm. Yeah,
So good body awareness. Yeah,
yeah.
whether it's a deep breath and let it out with a sigh, or you can even
Mhm,
like move your jaw around,
mhm.
because often we hold tension that we don't even know. You can put your hands right there at your jaw and
Yeah,
massage it a little, or let your
mhm.
jaw just kind of wiggle around.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably I probably need to add it to my stretches, especially as somebody who
Right.
speaks so much and leads so much, you know?
Right.
And, I wanted us to take the space to do that because the holidays can have you in this ramped up and then you just keep going and going, and in between all of that, again, we talk about the pauses, right? We talk about the
Mm-hmm.
incremental steps, and
Mm-hmm.
we have space for at least one deep breath every now and then. And,
Right.
I really love how our guest this season, Diane, was talking about the flow. The
Oh,
flow
the
of things, right?
flow.
Diane
Yep.
Allen, phew, so good. So around the holiday season, they've been making jokes about it, right? The Mariah Carey song, "Here She Comes," Mariah Carey is coming, right? So when you
I
start
love
hearing more,
her.
and I love the
Right.
song. Like, you
Hmm.
finally have a song of a woman telling you what she wants, and you're mad because
Right.
she's telling you, but I
Right.
get, but I get, hearing it a lot. But that flow and unlocking your genius and loving what you do by having that certain rhythm is what
Right.
I've been thinking about for the holidays. And you talking about your calendar and what works for me, one, not cooking on Thanksgiving, right? We talk about women, and
Mm-hmm.
there was one year I saw this older woman in our family, who has to be intentional about her sugar, right? She ate
Mm-hmm.
after we ate. I think she hadn't eaten that day over the holiday. And I'm like, no, we are not doing this for the holidays
Mhm.
anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
eating last. Okay. One, I'm not eating last. I'm not barely eating all day tight. I'm going to have an attitude. Nobody's going to want that. How about instead, the food is ready already? How about it doesn't matter what time people show up because the food is ready and we're outside playing? And that's what we've had the
Mm.
opportunity to do,
Mm.
is get set up. So on Thanksgiving, we're outside and the food is done.
Mm. So you got to play on
Yes.
break.
Yes.
Okay.
For Indigenous Day,
Yeah.
I went outside with nature, thankful for everything that's come before.
Mm.
And you were talking about your schedule, and I usually hear you talk about it in January, right? Like when you come and look at your
Mhm.
wins for last year,
Mhm.
you want the
I'm
whole
in
year
that
to be done,
process. Yep.
right? And so I'm in that process. I'm going to start early.
Mhm.
I'm going to do it at the end of the year. And then kind of like we do the Profit First days, like the money management
Mhm.
day. The last one is the 25th, but then you have
Mhm.
those 5 days after you need to follow up
Mhm.
on. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna set a day and do a little me day and look at my
Mhm.
year because there's so much to be grateful for.
I am happy to share my spreadsheet with you because I
Yeah.
did that
Okay.
with another friend this
Yeah.
morning and I was tweaking it.
Yeah. I will love
So
it.
for our listeners, if you weren't listening last year,
Yeah. Right?
What I do at the end of every year, I do it with myself and I do it with my clients, is I have a spreadsheet where I go through my calendar and I go through my pictures. And I
Yes.
do both very consciously because the calendar often catches the work successes and the pictures often um count the social successes in the friends and the family, which,
Mhm.
when we talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, we want to be in balance with all of that, right?
Mhm. Yes.
And I started actually today. So, like, I have this whole spreadsheet and it can
Yeah.
be overwhelming, but I find it joyful because I can
Yeah.
also go back and look at last year and
Mhm.
and so
Oh,
I
I like
write out the list of what my wins are and then I categorize them. I'm such a nerd. Like,
I love
I
them.
don't know if you know because I'm
Mm,
updating our spreadsheets, but
mhm.
that whole drop down
Oh, I saw
feature
it.
in
Yes.
in oh, it lights me up. Color
Good.
coded drop down. Um
Yes.
so there's a category. Which business was it for?
Mhm.
Which was it family? Was it this? Was it that? And so I show what the win was, and then I want more of it in
Mhm.
2025? I
Mhm.
consciously check yes or no.
Mhm.
I say, did it make me money? Not
Mhm.
every win has to make me money, but I want to
Right.
know where's my time going and
Mhm.
what works, and am I in balance with that for financial wellness?
Very
And
important.
then, right? And
Mm.
then I put, I'd have to look at what there's a couple other categories, but it's
Yes.
just the way, and I'm happy to share it with you, and you can customize it, and make it your own.
Okay.
Um, and I might put it on our show notes if folks
Mhm.
want a copy, because I could make a blank copy that people can use. But
I'm
I
not mad at
found
it.
it to be an incredible tool for
Mhm.
self-reflection. And
Beautiful.
and I'm going to say that with a caveat, y'all.
Mhm.
Be gentle with yourselves. Be
Yeah.
gentle, because every year looks different.
Mm.
And for our listeners that have been listening with me, the last 2 years for me have just been two of the hardest years of my life.
Yeah.
And so they are gonna look a little different, right? But
Absolutely.
here's what I found even as I started this morning.
Mhm.
There's a lot of joy and a lot of beauty in the midst of the grief.
Yeah,
Like,
there
as
is.
I was looking at pictures, and this
Mhm.
is part of this exercise, right? I was
Yes.
telling Shannon before we got online, Monday was my dad's birthday. So
Mhm.
I'm really noticing a level of sadness this week.
Yes, of course.
And I was even asking myself, like, is it sadness? Is it low level depression? Is it, not
Mhm.
sure. Jury's
Yeah.
still out, right? I'm paying
Really,
attention to my body data.
completely understand.
But what I noticed is I started to look back over the pictures, especially. I was like, whoa, right? Some things I'd forgotten. Because when you get hit with big grief, I don't
Mhm.
know about y'all, but my memory kind of goes Swiss cheesy on me. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, I totally forgot that this was the beginning of this year.
Mhm.
Like, I had some gorgeous picture of Dr. Jovisi and her kids when we did a walk somewhere, right? Like,
Yes,
it was
yes.
just beautiful.
Mhm.
And so that to me is the
Mm.
gratitude part of looking for the good, looking for my wins. There is a category that says challenges if,
Mhm.
I want to do that, but
Mm.
I've been doing this practice for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And it's
Yeah,
one of my favorite things at this time of year
I love that.
to set my intentions for next year, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, and, the challenges are, maybe not the funnest part. I don't think funnest is a word, but we're gonna use it, you know what I mean? Because I was telling you, right, y'all, I was telling Christine before we got on about this Black Friday sale and what was supposed to be happening with Shaylo Glow and the expectation versus what happened, and I could definitely beat myself up about it. It's year 4. Black Friday should be easy. It is not set up like I would like it to. We're supposed to be 3 months out, like I said 3 months ago, y'all, and wasn't set up? And
Mhm.
so things like that, you could definitely be hard on yourself about. And again, what I come to realize is, oh yeah, yes. I have a degree in psychology in Africa and African diaspora studies, not marketing, finances, or business. You know what I mean? And so bring in the marketing team. Where are you guys at? I will be calling you for 2025, right? And like you
Right?
said, having that grace with yourself and looking at it made me realize, okay, this is not an in or out of state thing. This is not a
Mhm,
timeline thing. This is not even a having grant money thing. This is a your
mhm.
strengths and weaknesses, and this is where you have the opportunity to build the team, and we'll go from there.
And being connected, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is this fallacy I think that so many women have. I know I've had it for years,
Of
right?
what?
That we've got to do it all.
Mm,
So that we, especially when we can,
mhm.
because we have mad skills.
That part.
Not to be in our ego, not to be. We've got
But we're
mad skills,
honest. Yes.
and almost all the women I know have mad skills, right?
Definitely. Yes.
And I know I'm guilty of, oh, if I could do it, why would I pay somebody else for it, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
And what makes sense, right?
Mhm.
I think that's the other thing as I look at when I look at my wins,
Mhm.
right? It also I have a column on there that says people that I
Yes.
write who I was with,
Mhm.
because then I'm like, did I spend time with the people I really want to spend time with?
Very
And if
important.
not, who's missing?
Mhm.
Who do I want to intentionally, and schedule in sounds so harsh, but it really is like
Mm.
when you have a really full life, you got to schedule. Like if it
Yes.
means something to you, you got to schedule it.
And that's
So,
that and for me, what comes up for that is that's when you make time for what you care about, you know?
mhm.
What were you gonna
Mhm.
say? What was the end of
Yeah,
what you were
no, that's the exact thing I'm thinking about. But
Yeah.
if we don't put some time and energy towards it,
Mhm.
for me, I know it's kind of like I just go on a whirlwind about
Yes.
what other people want or need, or because
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
love collaborating, and I love. It doesn't
absolutely.
mean those people aren't going to be in my calendar, but
Right.
I also want to stop
Mhm.
and take a deep breath and look at it. In Still Point, the book
Mhm.
that I wrote with Sheila K. Collins,
Yes.
we talk about one of the 5 skills of self care being
Mhm.
having a broader perspective,
Mhm.
taking a step back and having a broader perspective. And I think this tool that I use and this practice that I have is one of my self care practices.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the reason I really like it is because it's not overnight. We were just talking to one of our podcast guests that we're going to have on for
Mhm.
everybody next year. And she was talking about the quick diets and New Year's
Mhm.
resolutions and all
Mhm.
these quick things. And then we feel bad when in 30 days, we're not where we
Right.
thought we would be,
Mm.
but in business, it's not going to be that. It's going to take 2, 3, 5 years to see the
Right.
patterns and then know what to fix. And then you're into it. So,
Well, and speaking of that, right? Yes to the broader perspective, and then
mhm,
yes to zooming in for the incremental steps. Because,
yes,
in Interplay, we talk about change your practice, change your life.
yes.
And I just want to shout you out and
Mm,
Women Connected Wisdom out, because a couple of months ago, we said one of our markers that we
mhm.
wanted to look at was our listen note score. And
Yes.
y'all, I'm so excited. So we went up from being in the top 10% in the world to being in the top 5% in the world. Whoop, whoop,
Yes.
whoop.
Yes. So
And it was an
exciting.
incremental. We said that that was one of our markers. We said that
Yes,
was
we do.
something we wanted to do this year,
Mhm.
right? And
Yes.
we've made little incremental steps to making that happen.
And
And
please go ahead. No, please finish.
no,
Excuse me.
just and it happened,
Yeah,
right?
good.
And one of the things I want to shout out, and I don't want to say it was easy because
Mhm.
we've got 176 episodes,
Yes.
but it was incremental. Like
Yeah, it
we
was.
set that intention and we set that goal and then we released it.
Mhm.
And we just kept going about our work. And I kind of found it on accident. I
Yeah,
was looking for something else for
right.
a client because I was
Mhm.
looking up a podcast for one of my clients,
Yeah.
and it popped up and I was like, "Wait, what? Whoa, what?"
Hey, yes, yes, and you sent it to me, and I'm like, "Yes, I'm about to go in here, but this is amazing, and I'm so grateful,
Right?
and, thank you for all the listeners, thank you for all the downloads. Let me see, how many downloads this year, y'all? We had 1,947 downloads, so that's a huge win, and that's not only the people who wanted to save the episodes, but there's more that listened, more that joined us live, more that joined our conversation and have been reading the books and coming to our conferences and meeting us in person for our events. So I'm super grateful that you guys have and ladies have been benefiting from the information that we're putting together and,
Right.
passionate about sharing.
Right.
And what was a win for me, Christine, in that was that we found out that we went to the top 5 in a moment of rest. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
we've been gone for 2 weeks. I
Mhm.
had been gone for a month, y'all,
Mhm.
and to find out that as we rested, we're still reaching our goal, that's what we're
Mhm.
looking for, you know what I mean?
Mm.
As we feel tired and are taking a break. So
Right.
those things will come, and for me, what helps me stay consistent is being in community. Again, we were talking about this season, the social wellness with Maggie, and every
Mhm.
every woman is worthy.
Mm.
And her story is so powerful. And what's really been resonating with Maggie this season and Dr. Christina from last season were these two white women. And what I heard them saying is, y'all, my life is not perfect. I feel
Mhm.
like people gave them pushback because they're beautiful women. They look like they
Mhm.
have the perfect life. And you forget that, I'm thinking about the number of children I have too. I have stuff with my family. This person had,
Mhm.
perfectionist environment and was looking
Mhm.
for love and all these things that she had to work through. And so when I think about everything that we're doing, um that's one of my anchors, is knowing that I'm coming from a place of worth, that the people
Mhm.
around me are worthy, not just because we are amazing, dimensional, multifaceted professional women, but as people who have a purpose in life, we are worthy first. And
Mm.
then we enjoy community and we celebrate our wins and walk through our challenges together.
Yeah, that was a powerful episode. That was
Yeah,
episode 173,
yeah.
and that was before the election.
Yes, it
And
was.
we had a lot of hopes and dreams that did not come true, right?
No, they did not.
And I think that it's going to be important to remember, no matter what happens in America on the political scene, that we are worthy. We're
Yes,
worthy of health care. We're worthy of our
yes,
rights. We are
yes,
worthy of supporting each other and having a voice.
yes.
Um, even when there's things on the outside that are trying to say, nope, we've got to
Right.
band together and say, oh, yep, we're
Yep.
not going back and we are worthy.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah.
I think it's a continued, I was super excited, like, this is gonna be a great time for Women Connected in Wisdom,
Mhm.
and I said, Women Connected in Wisdom is definitely needed now, and we knew that already.
Right,
Like,
right,
we knew that, but I'm like, we definitely need it. And I hope that you guys continue to be encouraged and empowered by the resources and the stories that we're bringing you, because that's what it's about, us taking care of ourselves no matter who is where, we know where we're coming from.
right. And the power of connection. So after the election, I was lucky enough that so it was on a Tuesday, that
Yes.
Thursday through Sunday,
Mhm.
I had an Interplay Atlanta performance intensive.
Mm,
We had Masanko Bande, who is from Malawi, and
mm,
we had Carolyn Renee and Jennifer Denning. They were
yeah,
leading us in performance forms to expand our range. So we got to be in community and telling stories and dancing and moving. And the very thing, interplay to me is just such a balm and it's so healthy in so many ways to reduce stress and tap into our body wisdom. It was just such a gift to be there. And then the next week, I went to Texas and retreated with women that I have been retreating with for 30 plus years and
mhm,
to be in community. So, really understanding the power of community
yes,
and that is what is going to get us through no matter what,
yeah.
no matter who's in office, like
Right?
community,
It and that could be the pressure of the holidays, because the family is important, because the friends are
right?
important, and we're still tired from the year, and what does that look like for everything, And so
Right?
for me, I've been going through the pictures and spending family time, and I was super excited to get the opportunity to do that, because even though the family is in Georgia, my time freedom has looked different. My
Right.
financial freedom has
Right.
looked different. And so it's
Mhm.
been really spaced out. And so to say, hey, this day is blocked off, these days are already planned for, we're going to go
Mhm.
do this, had a really good time. And, when we talk about, and we'll talk about financial wellness during the holidays, all these things through this episode.
Mm.
But I was thinking about our group, Christine, and how we talk about the library. Got this free library card,
Mhm.
was able to use these passes. Y'all, actually, let me show you. It's right here in my purse. Was able to use these passes, a little library pass. We went to the Computer Museum of America, and
Ooh,
right, and it's the biggest museum, the tech museum on the East Coast.
where's it at?
Usually, it's out in Gwinnett off Roswell Road. Is it
Oh,
Roswell? 5,000 something. So yeah, it
I
was a little
didn't know
drive
it
from here.
existed.
Right, me either. And so the library had free passes. The four of us went, and it would have been almost $70, and it was free. It was taken care of because we had a library card. And so things like that are, have been what I've been intentional about, being able to maintain my financial wellness as I do different things, being an entrepreneur, and still get in that really great family time. That's a great memory, a beautiful experience, and we got to learn about the history of computers and the spaceships and all these
And
different
what was it
things.
called again?
This is called the Computer Museum of America.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
cool.
really
When,
cool.
it's probably what would you say the earliest age for kids is?
Ooh, I went with my brother. He's 9.
Did he
Early,
like it?
maybe 5. He thoroughly enjoyed himself. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's all into tech. So we're all, pretty tech savvy and use it for different things. So I knew everybody would enjoy it.
I love that. And I love
Yeah.
that you got the free pass through the library, which,
Yes.
you have to be on for a while to get
Mm,
oh, I should tell you
right.
about this one.
Mm.
Um, the Railroad Museum in Duluth,
They take
fabulous.
and y'all, those passes go quick. So to
You
reserve
have to
them,
be yes.
you have to be
Yeah.
what?
You have to be on that waiting list for a while.
It's crazy. So I called the library, right? Again,
Mhm,
this is the cab library system. We have multiple
mhm,
branches, multiple systems have multiple branches, right? So if one location doesn't have the passes, another location might have the passes.
mhm,
I called and reserved these passes for the locomotive museum that Christine is talking
mhm,
about, but I only had 2 hours. That day I couldn't get there. I was trying to reserve it for the
mm,
next day.
mm.
I was like, nobody's gonna want these locomotive
Oh,
passes. They'll be
oh, they
there.
they
They were
oh, they
gone.
they were gone.
They were gone. They were gone.
It's because it's expensive but
Mhm.
it's so cool how
Yeah.
when you drive by it I drove by it for years, and it doesn't
Yeah.
look like anything because you
Okay.
have to cross the railroad track and go in
Yeah.
there. I
Yeah.
took the Nibblings the last time they were here. It was
Mhm.
so much fun.
I'm gonna go.
So much fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
gotta
go.
take your brother. So
Okay.
much fun.
Yeah,
And
we were all gonna go, but
take your pictures for
yeah.
great photo ops. Like, it
Okay.
is just fabulous.
We can do that one too.
I went for a Duluth Fine Arts, I can't even
Right.
remember what you call it, like a
Event.
field trip, or
Okay.
we were doing something, somebody was
Outing.
presenting something,
Yeah.
and then I took the nibblings because I was like, "Oh, this
You're gonna
is
love it.
ridiculous." But it's cool for adults too, like,
Yeah.
it's cool.
I'm
So,
excited.
I love
And
that.
so, that's how I've been balancing things this holiday seasons as things look different, as I wait for.
Mhm.
And we talk about transparency and stories on the podcast. As I wait for this check to deposit over a Black Friday weekend, we can still do free stuff that would usually cost money that doesn't cost anything out of pocket, just some time
Right?
and some, logistical organization. So this month, y'all, we were going to talk to Shakira Drones about using spiritual wellness to heal your finances. So, we have her information and we'll share it through the our platforms. But when I think about financial wellness and being intentional, I think about why I want to use my money, where I use it, why I'm okay with spending my life in the hours of work at different places that I'm okay with spending it because of the purpose that I see it fulfilling. So being able to block out that time to do that and be intentional with the numbers and where we spent it definitely sparked joy. And it reminded me of you and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce her name incorrectly, Haley's conversation. Hella, how do you think you pronounce
Hella.
it? Hella, y'all's podcast was beautiful about intellectual wellness, and that was right after the election. And 3 keys to
Mhm.
building your business without it having run your life. And that's what comes up for me when we talk about the holidays and women. I don't want us to be swept up by the season. I want us to thoroughly enjoy it, be involved, but also, again, not have it run the whole schedule because it's only part of the schedule.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
What helps you to
Mhm.
enjoy this season? What are things that when you think about that spark joy for you?
Mm.
What's on that list?
I would say together time.
Mhm,
Together time. And my story is unique because I didn't grow up with my family. My dad was married multiple times, families were changing, divorcing, health stuff, all the different things. And so because my house was not where we had food, usually we didn't have a
mhm,
lot of food when I was growing up, brushing my teeth in the chemistry classroom and having holes in my shoes. I was always at somebody else's house, usually if fun
mhm,
stuff was going on. And so I had the opportunity to take Farrah over my godmom's house, and that's who I was usually with, helping her
mhm,
cook, or one of my
mhm,
other friends' moms helping them cook. Um, or with my best friend who is now the mother of my godchildren. And so that's what we did this year. So really getting that time in and not just working, especially being in the hospitality industry for so many years.
mhm.
Usually when everybody else is celebrating is when we're on. So it's everybody's off
Right,
season and I'm on
right.
and popping. And so even though, we're busy right now and gearing up for 2025, the together time was really beautiful. And that is the
I
anchor
love
for
that.
me. What about
Right.
you?
Oh, yeah, together time. I it's such a juxtaposition, right? Because
Mm.
the end of the calendar year, people are trying to cram in appointments and meetings, and there's things that need to be done, right? And at
Yes.
the same time, what I really want to do is go on walks with my friends, play
Yeah.
board games.
Mhm.
So I try to schedule those in too. Like this
Yeah.
weekend, one of my dearest was in town from California. So we had
Mm.
a game night, and, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And Tracy came over,
Mm.
and, we some just those moments, right? And they don't have to be long, but getting to hug our people and say
Yes.
hello. And yeah, I really, really enjoy that. And I enjoy walking with my neighbors. And
Yeah.
even though it's been cold in Georgia,
Yes.
y'all, I mean, it's been
Below 30 degrees.
what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been
What?
cold. Been bundled. Fun. Um, and yeah, that's what brings the warmth is those moments, like you said. I love how you said that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think about yeah, I mean, we know this last year, the last couple of years for both of us have really spoken to that life is short. Life
Absolutely.
is short, and
Mhm.
hug your people, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
spending time, even if the house isn't perfect, or
Right.
like how do we connect with each other and
Yeah.
make time for each other?
And what you're talking about, I've been working on my planners and I'm thinking about, and I say this every year, and so hopefully next year is the last year I say this. Y'all know my planner always falls apart, and then the pages start coming out. But what I started working on for 2025 is just putting those dates down. Putting the birthdays down that I want to
Mm,
celebrate, putting down the different things already planned out. The money management days. Joe, you talking about Joe Van Treese? Her birthday's in January. It's already in here. So that I
right.
can make sure I have the space and the reminders to show up and celebrate everybody. Um, and so that's what I would say now. As a young adult, who is finally, I feel like, figuring out my pace, and as a business owner, it has helped me, for me, you, and then me and Tino as my business partners, to look at
Mhm,
our numbers in October and start
mhm,
those conversations for our team. For me
mhm,
and Pharaoh as a romantic partner, to start planning our holiday parties. We talk before we start talking to our family about holiday travel and stuff. And
yeah,
so getting those conversations started early and then having time planned out, and y'all, when I plan my time, I was talking to one of the high schoolers about this. She's nervous about going to college and change and all these things. And
Mhm.
I told her, one, nail down something that makes you feel comfortable, right? Something that's
Mhm.
constant for you, that you're comfortable with, that you love doing, that sparks joy,
Mhm.
and try to keep that consistent through the time that's changing. So if it overwhelms you, how can you set up your desk or your environment that helps you? How can you couple it with something and pair it with something like a walk with a neighbor that makes you feel better and maybe releases
Right.
that tension at the end of it, right? But then getting out ahead of it and setting your deadline before the actual deadline gives me
Mhm.
more space. So if I'm on time, I'm early. And if I'm late for being early, I still have some time and I don't have to be worried about fees. I don't have to be worried about somebody else being disappointed or whatever is going on. I still have time to show up the way that I want to. And that's been really exciting for me this year. It's been sparking joy as I think about my wins, knowing that next year I have a plan and we can pivot as we need to.
Mhm. Mm. You were talking about the college students.
Yeah.
I think about holidays, I think about transitions, but I
Mhm.
also think about, since the last time we talked, like daylight savings time and the
Mhm.
fact of how it's getting darker,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And a lot of folks are affected by seasonal affective disorder, and how really looking at your 8 dimensions of wellness
Mhm.
can really help you to address some of those issues, right?
Absolutely.
Um, Getting outside every day
Mhm.
and making sure you see the sun or have the sun, and getting enough sleep.
Mhm.
Getting, because I've talked to several people this week and their sleep's all messed up, right? Because they
Mhm.
start getting sleepy about 6 o'clock, and then
Mhm.
like,
Yes.
and so really, yeah. I was seeing something the other day, and I think it was about social wellness I was reading about, but it was talking about that we should all have 3 hobbies, and I'm trying to figure out what they are now.
Is it like
I think
one that makes money, one that's leisure, and one that something else? Is that what you mean? Is
I
that
think
what
it
you're
was
referring
like
to?
one that was creative,
Yes.
one that was, like physical,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
trying, and I think maybe one that was, collaborative or with, like,
Okay.
social. I think
Okay.
it was
I
one that
like
was
it.
social.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, and I love, we like to have it
I like
stacked,
pickleball.
right?
That's been
Right?
fun. Yeah.
Pickleball you've been playing?
I have. Me,
What?
Joe, and Austin, we all played. We had a double date, yeah. We
Oh
talking about Air
my
my answer,
gosh.
yeah, it was fun.
Okay, I need y'all to invite me because I love
Oh,
playing pickleball.
let's play pickleball.
Where did you go?
Over here in Mason Mill, beautiful
Okay.
park up here, and
Okay.
the rackets are only like 350 to rent, and the court is like $3, but we're gonna buy
Okay.
rackets from Amazon.
I got rackets,
Okay.
and yeah, I can give y'all a link to those. And
Yeah.
also, there is a place, I want to say it's in Buford, where we can get
Okay.
food and drinks and play
Ooh,
pickleball. And I think it's
okay.
indoors. Like,
Okay,
so
okay.
even over the winter, we
Yeah,
could play. That would
yeah.
be ridiculously fun.
Yeah, cause I was
I love
just
that.
gonna thug it out and be out there in the cold and, get hot as I moved around, but I like I like
Get
the inside
get
idea better.
right,
Yeah,
right. It'd be
that's
super
funny.
fun.
And
Um,
I had somebody ask me that yesterday, I do know somebody that has a vitamin D deficiency, and we were talking
mhm,
about it. I was checking on her,
mhm,
and I was like, "Well, how much time do you get to spend outside?" She was like, in the cold? And I said, "Well, maybe, if we're driving to work and stuff, maybe it's you sitting in the
mhm,
car and letting the sun hit
mhm,
your face." You know what I mean?
mhm,
Like, how can we be creative with it? How can we include more vitamins in our diet, right? Changing up what we're eating for that microbiome, but also
mhm,
being proactive, knowing that it's going to get colder, knowing that the kids get sick and then the family gets sick after school and breaks and with travel through the
mhm.
holidays. Um, and so like you
Well,
said,
and I also wanna say too,
yeah.
now they have the light therapy, like, for under $40. Like, they've got
Say
really
more about it.
expensive ones.
Are you talking about,
So
like, red
light
light the infrared therapy?
No, they have, like, sunlight therapy that is, like,
Oh,
for vitamin D. It's like a
okay.
vitamin D lamp,
Mm,
and, you spend a little time in front of the lamp. Like, you could do
okay.
it while you were reading or while you but there's some, like, I'm looking on Amazon right now, they start at about 23 bucks, and
What
they go
about
up.
is it a UV light, like the nail light at the salon?
I think so, kinda, sorta.
I
Yes,
want
it says light therapy lamps can help your body make vitamin D, but you shouldn't ignore their risks. They're able to because they use UV light.
Mhm.
So you have to be careful because spending time under them can increase your risk of skin cancer just as the sun would. So you want to
Okay.
check it out. Check it
Yeah,
out and find out. But like I know when we go to the spa, like they have some really awesome red UV
they do.
lights,
That's what I was
and
thinking
they
about.
tell you the time that you go, and yeah.
I like it. And y'all, technically, we're supposed to be wearing SPF and all this stuff every day anyways, you know what I mean? So it could be added to the habits. And thankfully, shea butter has SPF of 3, so depending on your skin and the sensitivity, we definitely want to add to that. But that's what I do to make sure I'm protected in any environment anyways. But I love that. A sunlight lamp for vitamin D. I'm gonna
Mhm.
share that with her.
Mhm.
Also,
There's
y'all,
one that's on sale right now for like $20. I'm gonna send you that link or put it in I can put it in our show notes.
yeah, and I'll share it. I'll share it.
Okay.
What else have we talked about? This season, y'all. So we talked about physical wellness and unlocking your genius and loving what you do with Diane Allen. We talked about social wellness and every woman is worthy. And again, this season we were flexible. We had some things, we had the opportunity to move around, some dimensions that we did not give you live shows for, and reminded you that you could go back to the other 175 episode. But to lift up these guests that we did not have the opportunity to bring in front of you, again, Dr. Brandy Stamper talking about empowering boundaries, navigating parenthood and career for occupational wellness. That's been big, and for us, even through the books, through the podcast, one big thing that I've learned with you, Christine, is being able to see when do we need to pause? And a
Mhm.
pause is okay sometimes. And
Mhm.
like we talked about earlier, you can pause and still grow
Mhm.
and things still happen. Even when the teams aren't there yet and everything isn't built out,
Mhm.
we can have
Mhm.
those things. And especially as parents in the holidays, and as women, a lot of times it could be uncomfortable asking for boundaries and setting them up. But just like the calendar, for me, it's not limiting, it's really freeing. Knowing that,
Mhm.
okay, this day I can move this 4 hour block to Thursday, and yeah, let's just move it. And we could do all of it if it's communicated. What
Well,
were you
I
gonna say?
think that I'm thinking that
Mm,
it all goes down to noticing and checking in with ourselves. Like we have a practice in interplay and that I use with my clients with coaching about really just pausing and checking in with our bodies,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What do our bodies need in this moment? It makes me think about our guest, Dr. Sandra, was it Dalton, who did
Yes.
the different types
Dalton
of
Smith,
rest,
The 7
right?
Types of
Dalton
Sacred
Smith.
Rest. Yes.
Yeah, sacred rest, and really talking about, and I can't even remember what episode she was on. I'd have to go back and look.
Right.
But often we think, "Oh, I need sleep." And we definitely need our minimum sleep, but
We
we
do.
need different types of rest, right?
Yeah.
Like we need creative rest, we
Mhm.
need social
Sensory.
rest, we need
Yes.
it's kind of
Mental.
like all the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? You
It is.
also sometimes need to rest from the very things you're doing to keep yourself going.
Emotional rest. Yes.
Right? And I
Mhm.
think about that, and I think about it all goes down the root of it is physical. The
Mhm.
root of it is checking in with our bodies and what
Mhm.
do we need today,
Yeah.
right?
And y'all, I'm so grateful for all the things I've been learning over the past few years because feedback is a gift. When your thigh is hurting, it's like, whoa, what's that? Your feet are hurting. It's like your body is trying to talk to you. The fact that you can hear it is a great thing. A lot of times, thinking about shea butter, I think about people who deal with diabetes and how sometimes they can't feel their feet. And it's literally just the daily checks and building that habit in that is, the thing, that anchor that helps them check in with themselves.
Mhm.
And that's how I
Mhm.
think about it. Sitting with ourselves in the morning. You ladies
Mhm.
talked about it on the intellectual wellness episode, taking that quiet time in the morning. And
Mhm.
before going on the news and seeing which celebrity wore what to what event, who made what political decision, right? Or what somebody else said about this person that looks like me, how do I feel? right? Where am I
Mhm,
at? What do I need? What am I praying over today? What am I intentional, being intentional about?
mhm.
And then at the end of the day, after whatever actually happened, right? Okay, where am I at? And what do I need? And trying to be intentional about checking in throughout the day. If something happens or something goes well or something goes different than expected, just doing those incremental pauses throughout the day so that you can end as close as possible, hopefully exceeding where you thought, but still
Mhm.
having grace with yourself and giving your body and your mind, your spirit the space to say whatever it has to say to you so we can process and be present and keep going.
Right. And
Yeah.
that we are allowed to rest.
You are
We are
worthy.
allowed to check in with ourselves in
Yes.
the midst of very full lives. And
Mm.
we are allowed to be intentional with what we need or want during this season,
Yeah.
right?
And that's what Chantel Austin was going to talk about this season. We had the opportunity to move her episode for environmental wellness. And that's what I think about with women setting boundaries. She says you are worth fighting for. And for
Mhm,
me, I think about my dad growing up and how he
mhm.
always used to take the armrest right, at the movies, and I'm like, "I want all of my space," and that's how I feel in life, like, it's like a fight of keeping the space that you need, and depending on how many people are in the room, you kinda shift, but you are definitely worth fighting for and worth prioritizing so that you can be met with your needs and, what you want the holidays to be like, and also show up for your community with love and being present and celebrating.
Right.
Yeah.
We always talk about in my Tuesday class with radical self and community care,
Mm,
right? We start not to look at our self-care to be selfish, to look at our self-care as sustaining.
mhm.
And in order to be able to show up for our communities and our community care, what do we need?
Yeah.
Right? What do we need um, to do? And it can be as simple as committing to one thing this week. Like whether that's getting outside every day or walking or making it to the gym or reading a book
Mhm.
or writing down your gratitude. What do you need this week? Right.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
that made me think,
Mm.
Shannon, and we've been talking about this for a while, and we just need to do it. But
Yeah.
as part of our Women Connecting Wisdom merch,
Mhm.
having a gratitude journal
Mhm.
that kind of has a space for each dimension of wellness, right?
Yes.
That has a space to where we can just write a little note to ourselves, a little love note or a little check about what that looks like, right? That would be
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah.
Super
I think
fun.
that's a great idea, and I'm looking forward to the merch, y'all, and we're planning next year, so let's see where we are in 365 days, and, the holidays is still here. We're wrapping up this year. We've talked about some of the big changes and some of the things that we can look forward to, and these amazing guests who have been here to help us elevate and maintain our wellness with you. What I want us to talk about next, and if you gonna say something?
Before we
Wait.
go to
Yeah.
that, I
What were
really
you
want to
gonna ask?
let folks know because if they're
Please.
listening today, they may be
Yeah.
thinking, oh, they're done for the year, but we are not done.
Mm-mm.
We have two more shows this year, and I'm very excited because we
2
have
more or 1
Heather
more?
Warren. Two more, I think. We have Heather Warren coming, and then we have Shanti Journal Bay.
Yes.
Yeah, Refuge. I'm really excited. I'm excited to talk to both of these guests.
Mhm.
So we have some two more shows coming, and then we'll be off for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And back to you. What were you going to say?
Yes. Yes. So I was gonna invite us to share our wisdom in action for the
Mm.
holidays. I don't know if I have mine yet. If I have an actionable hashtag in mind, what are you thinking about? What are you doing to maintain
um,
through the
I
holidays?
am thinking about breathing and resting.
Mhm.
Hashtag breathe and rest. And if you could see my calendar, you would laugh about that. But it is, I'm going to make time for breathing and resting.
Yes, because the air, just like everything else, just like the rooms that we're sitting in, right, or the places that we're at listening to this podcast, there's air all around you. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it fits in kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that's how I think about it. Breathe and rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
mine is hashtag rest and celebrate.
Mm.
Be-
Yep.
This, Yeah, this year has been different. I feel like a lot of the celebrations have been skipped over, just because so
Mm,
much stuff has been going so fast. And that's okay because this year is unique and I feel like it's really a setup year, a transitional year, a pivotal year, right? And so I'm excited about the result of what comes from all the updates and the changes. But when I think about Volume 2 and these amazing ladies that we've had the opportunity to lift up and support through sharing their stories in our hybrid publishing company, I think about the intellectual wellness chapter that I wrote and resting and celebrating at the end
mhm,
before you
mhm.
keep going. And we have a lot of great stuff coming up. And I'm trying to be really intentional about being present, making sure that I get my rest, and making sure that I celebrate us at top five, these new
Right?
opportunities, and everything that we've done and have on the way.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So,
Well, as always, my friends, it is
yes.
great to catch up with you and have a
Oh,
conversation.
thank
And,
you.
next week we'll be having a guest live
Yes.
and we'll have some more fun and conversation. Is there anything else we need to shout out before we go?
No, no, y'all just thank you again for listening. Join us live at 5 next week for the beginning of season 22. So excited. And this will be the one that takes us into 2025, y'all. So let's get connected. Get connected to all of our resources. We have so many resources we've been working on over the last 4 years for you. So if you're really needing some help on this holiday season, it makes sense. We have it set up for you. Go look at our show notes based on the dimension of help that you need help with. That's always where we tell people to start with, and we'll see you here next week at 5. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.